I would like you to help me welcome my friend and our speaker tonight, Dianna E.
Hi, my name is Dianna Erickson, and I am an alcoholic. My home group is Saturday morning Girly Birds, and my sobriety date is May 26, 1992. That I'll be 31 in 2 days. So I'll share my experience, strength, and hope. I grew up in Yuma, Arizona. I'm a longtime Arizonan. My dad was an alcoholic, and my mom qualified for Al-Anon. My own opinion. So my dad's drinking was horrible. He was a very violent drunk, and I learned real early how to duck, how to be quiet, how to be invisible. If you wanted me to be sweet, I could be sweet. If you wanted me to be, whatever personality you wanted me to be, I conformed. And as we were growing up, my brother and I, we talked about my dad's drinking, and we vowed that we would never drink like he did. Unfortunately, we did. And I was one of those kids that you would have thought was a good Catholic kid. I was in student council, I was in band, I was a majorette, I was, you name it, I was in it. And I found out later in therapy that it's because I didn't want to be home. So I did everything in my possible life that I could stay busy and out of the house. My dad died from alcoholism on he was 47. And then my brother died at 33 on his birthday from alcoholism. And for me, that was my turning point. I hated God. It was all God's fault. You're trying to find somebody to blame, and it couldn't be my brother. So that's how we kind of went through our life. I was married to, God bless his heart. I was married before. I got married in high school and had my son at 18, just so I could get out of the house. And we stayed married for about 13 years. And I'm a binge drinker. At that time, I could hold out for 3 months and then go on a 3-day tear. But justified, I don't do this every day. I didn't lose my jobs, I didn't lose any possessions, I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. But I just had a really good time, and alcohol worked for me at that time. And I remember I could remember every joke, I could remember passages, everything was great, and I was having a really fun time. But then it started getting to the point where I love wine and tequila. So when you mix wine and tequila, that is not a good look. I love that passage in the big book where it says, a man in his cups, is not a good look. I remember this one time, my first husband was sitting there at dinner, and I had made him, I'm Hispanic, so I didn't know how to make white food. So I had this recipe, and it was this roasted chicken thing with orange slices, or I don't know, something like that. But, I was drinking, of course, while I'm cooking it. And he comes home, and he looks at it, and he goes, "What is this?" "I don't know, it's a white thing. You're supposed to like this." And he's just like, "Well, I'm not sure I like it at all, And I got my glass of wine, and it was just like the red film went over my eyes. So I put my hand in the cavity of the chicken, and then I couldn't hear him, but I could see his mouth moving. "Put the chicken down." And I was very athletic at the time, and I put my arm back, and he starts running. So I start chasing him, and I'm going to beat him to death with this chicken. So I throw the chicken, and I swear to God, this is not made up. There was a woman walking her dog. The chicken lands in front of the dog. The dog is so freaking happy, So that's the kind of drunk I am. I don't think, I don't pause, I don't, the other, and I have a different talk that I do with women's groups. So I'm not going to tell you the really juicy stuff. I will tell you that I was allergic to clothing when I drank. That's all you need to know. I destroyed that marriage. And we're good friends now. I mean, we don't call him like, hey, how's it going? We're very civil to each other, and I eventually had to make an amends to him. So I'm in Prescott, and I'm working in the legal field, and I meet this guy. Very sweet man, very honorable man. That's what I remember thinking about him. And raising my son, so we start dating. We go out, and he takes me to my door, and he shakes my hand. This guy's got to be married. Something's fishy here. I mean, look at this. And I think it's about 6 months that keeps shaking my hand. He says it was like maybe 3 days. But it's my story, so that's what I'm going to say. So we finally, get intimate, and he looks at me, he goes, Dianna, I need to share something with you. I said, okay. I'm a sober alcoholic. I don't know what that means. I've never seen a sober alcoholic in my life. And he goes, I go to AA meetings, and I was just wondering, if you're okay with that. This is an alcoholic brain. I'm looking at him. He's never going to ask me to share my alcohol. He will never be drunk to drive me wherever I wanted him to go. I think I'm going to marry this man. So while we're dating, he's taking me to open meetings. And I thought, God, this is an incredible group. You guys love each other. You're just, kumbaya-ing it. You're holding hands. You're happy to see each other. And I was just really astounded. I thought, man, this is a great group for my husband, my future husband. And so we get married. Now, my family are drinkers. So our marriage, we had it at the Armory. One half was my family, and then his half was AA people. So we had this, I don't know why, we had a raft full of alcohol, and then we had, like bottled water and stuff for them. And we had a wonderful time with it. But what I'm telling you is that it's totally different when you come to an open meeting and you're not the alcoholic. So here comes another 3-day weekend. It's Memorial Day. And we were playing softball and all that kind of stuff. And I could not get drunk. I kept drinking. We'd order at the table. I would get up and go to the bathroom, or get a drink from the bar, take it into the bathroom, drink it there, come back, and thank God another drink was waiting for me. So my heart, I was getting like anxious. Why can't I get drunk? Well, I didn't think I was drunk anyway. I'm sure I was a slobbering idiot, but got home and passed out. The next morning, and this is the honest God truth, the next morning I heard God's voice say, it's time. And I remember opening my eyes, and I said, I know. So John comes into the bedroom, he's looking at me, and I look at him and I said, I have to go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And he starts, oh my God. I said, I didn't say right now. I said I need to go today. Let's just calm down now, because, I'm hungover. I got tequila mouth, hair on my tongue. And we go to, at that time it was called Happy Hour, 5:30. It was at the Promises on Burley Street. It was not my happy hour. I'm there, and I'm just hanging on to the table. I'm just doing this, and they're all happy, and they're all, saying hello to each other and all this kind of stuff. And I don't remember probably my first 2 or 3 weeks of going to that meeting every day. And I just remember finally I got enough nerve to get a cup of coffee. And at that time, we didn't have the styrofoam or paper cups. We had real cups. And so I'm drinking coffee, and this lady walks up to me after the meeting and says, "Hi, would you like to do some service work?" I don't know what that means. But I look at her and says, "Why would I do that?" "Well, because you're drinking coffee, and we have to wash the cups, and we, do it in the kitchen." And I gave her the cup back, and I said, "Here, there's no way I'm going to do service work. I know what you guys do back there. You talk to us, and I'm not going to fall for it." "Well, my name is," and I don't want to know your name, and I'm not going to tell you my name. And I looked at her and I just said, "Because I'm just fine." And she goes, "Oh, yes, you are, huh?" So, for 2.5 years, I go to meetings. I'm still not happy. I have a big book that I had never opened, but I carried this damn big book because I knew how the elders were. They'd probably want to know, like, well, what's on page 62? All that kind of stuff. And I was ready. I was going to be ready for them. And then they started asking me, "Well, who's your sponsor?" Hey, this is an anonymous program, okay? I can't tell you who my sponsor is because I didn't have one. I had the ghost sponsor, and I was so miserable. So we're going up to Groom Creek for a meeting, and I remember specifically looking at John as he was driving, and I said, "If something doesn't change in AA, I'm out of here." And he just kind of goes, "Okay." I said, "No, I'm serious, man." So we get to the meeting, we have the meeting, and then an elder stands up and she says, "I'm going to be starting a big book study, going every page in the big book and learning about what this book says." And I kid you not, man, we only had like 12 people. They all looked at me. I said, "Yeah, okay, fine. I'll do it." Because I knew it wasn't going to work. In my heart, I knew this was not going to work. But I'll follow the rules. So we started on the big book study, and every week we went through these pages, and the light started to come on. And I started to see what was happening in my life. What was I holding on to? I saw the fears. I saw all the anger that I had towards my God, to my family, my ex-husband, all that stuff that you start accepting about yourself. And we were they had separated us, men and women, on the 4th step to do the sex inventory. And I'm just sitting there, and I never asked a question, I never said anything. And this other lady, who had at that time like 20 years, she's talking about her sex inventory out loud to us. And nobody got up and smacked her or beat her or, like shame you, get that big A on your forehead. You need to leave us. We are not like those people. And they started laughing, and they were like, "Yeah, I did that too." Like, holy crap, they're admitting this stuff in public? And then I could feel like my heart just calm down. Just calm down. Breathe. And so I had to share my sex inventory with this woman, and I don't know, man, that relief, how it says in the big book, you will know a new freedom. I had no concept what that meant, but I could feel it leaving, because at the end of my drinking, I was losing my soul, and I knew I was losing my soul, and I knew that there was nothing that I was doing that was going to get it back, and that kind of terrified me. Doing the big book studies, and if you never have gotten a chance to do that, join one, start one. It's nothing but opening the book and reading and discussing, what does this paragraph mean to you? How does this resonate with you? Have you ever had this experience? And it's amazing what comes out. Since that time, when I was almost 3 years sober when we were doing this, I have been involved in a big book study for the last 28 years. And every year I say, I'm never going to do one of these again. I'm tired of this. I don't want all these people in my house. And then about 2 weeks go by and go, okay, I got to start a big book study. Because I get fed spiritually, emotionally. I have an outlet. I get to be intimate with these women who trust me and who I get to learn how to trust. I'll tell you one thing, John and I now, we're going to celebrate 35 years of marriage. That's amazing to me. I've never done anything for 35 years, well, except love. And I'm pretty sure I was in a lot of blackouts with that. But because of the program, what it did for him, he taught me how to love and how to be loved. I could do the fake love. Oh, yeah, I love you. But I'm putting in my head, you owe me. And you better pay back double what I give you. But to be loved and to have somebody write you a card that says you are so loved and not want anything from you, that was the hardest part for me, because I didn't know what that kind of love was. I didn't grow up with that kind of love. There was always conditions. If I was going to be loved by my family, my personal friends, my boyfriends, my higher powers. And I love learning that about Alcoholics Anonymous, where it talks about the higher power and what, am I willing to do anything for my God? My God, yeah. And there was a time in my life where I would have done anything for him. Doesn't matter who he was. Sammy, Joe, Tommy, Billy Bob. I love you. I don't have to do that kind of stuff anymore, I had always worked with men in my career, with cops, with other attorneys, with engineers, and I liked it just fine because I was the little present. They were always so sweet and kind to me, and I just manipulated these men and used them, and then, I get into AA, and I rarely go to mixed meetings because you guys are distracting. There's some cute ones, there's some really handsome ones, there are very nice ones. And that's where my head goes. And it's just like, oh my God, this is, I don't need to be doing that. I get a bit fed by the women. And it's just like that stupid saying that we hear all the time. Men will pat your ass and women will save your ass. And that is the honest to God truth. Because we're sick people. And I try to explain that to my sponsees is that we don't go to AA to hook up or get dates. We go to AA to save ourselves, to have God involved in our life, to enjoy our life today. I mean, how many of you guys are happy to be sober? Raise your hands. And do you ever get the thought, because I still do every once in a while, you ever get that thought about romanticizing a drink? I could see a commercial, that glass with the little dew marks on it, and and everybody's having a good time and partying. And I went, wow, isn't that beautiful? I've got 28 years, I should be able to have one. The thing is though, if I catch myself quick enough, I'll call my sponsor and I'll tell her. I used to have the drunk dreams. There was a Budweiser truck that ran into a tequila truck in my dream. And all these bottles were crashing, and I am down on the ground trying to pick up as much as I could in my mouth. And then people from AA walk by, and you're like, oh, I tripped, That's the kind of dreams I have. And they're like horrifying, because then you wake up and you're like, holy crap, did that happen? And you're like, okay, no. I know who the man is right next to me, which is my husband today, not him. And that's the joy about my life today. I know what I'm doing today. And I know what my behavior is. I'm telling you, I'm not a saint. That's why I have sponsees, people to keep me on track. Because if I'm let loose like a wild dog, I will act like a wild dog. And if I don't understand what my integrity is about, or where my rigorous honesty, I love that. Rigorous honesty in the big book, I don't know, it's mentioned like 20 times. They can't just say, yeah, just be honest when you can. It says be rigorously honest. Because we're idiots. We will dissect that stuff, and I will. And I'll try to figure out where the loophole is. I cannot tell you how huge my life is today. We go to meetings, different countries, different towns. We've gone to internationals. We've gone to, little roundups. We don't care. We'll go. We have the time and we can make it. We do it. Our life is full of AA. I bet we have 30 people a week that come through our house, whether it's John's meetings or my meetings. And my house is an open book. You could go through my whole house. If you want something, take it. I don't care. Just don't take my husband. He's the only thing that's valuable to me. You know, I don't have any that attachment to possessions anymore, because I used to believe that if you work hard, you get paid money, you buy the biggest toy. You know, I rarely wear big jewelry or anything like that. I just don't have that investment in me anymore. I now, in my life, have a group of women who I can call at 4 o'clock in the morning if I'm in an emergency, and I know that they'll show up. I used to call people at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was drunk. I love you, man. I miss you so much. They're like, who is this? It's your favorite friend. Oh my God, I can't. Man, I haven't heard from you in 10 years. I know, I've been feeling so bad about that, man. Can you come over? No. I love drunk calling, you know, and that's when we didn't have cell phones, so you didn't know who was calling. And thank God we didn't have cell phones that could take photos of ourselves, and videos, and that kind of stuff. And I am so grateful about that. Like, yeah, not on Facebook for me. I've always been really interested in other people's journeys with this program, you know, because my perspective could be different from yours. My experiences obviously can be somewhat different also, my background, my culture, that kind of stuff. And so I love talking to people about God, about their program, about, you know, what they've done in certain situations. I was talking to Mike Bennett earlier, and we were talking about, you know, the 3 principles that I'll tell you is step 1 is honesty. That's, if you can do step 1, which is the only step they say you have to do perfectly, do the principle of being honest with yourself, with someone else. In fact, it's even told on our coins, to thy own self be true. If I'm lying to you, I'm lying to me. And then the second principle is hope. And when I looked into that, hope is a desire. I hope I can stay sober today. I hope I can be a good woman today. I hope I can be of service. And then the third step is faith. And the difference between faith and hope is that faith is a belief. I absolutely believe that if I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand Him, my life is going to be wonderful. And it has been so far. I'm not telling you we've never suffered sadness or deaths or, you know, that kind of stuff, or trials and tribulations. But at least now today we can do it with grace and with honesty and with love. I realize because of this program that we all want to be loved for exactly who we are. John doesn't make me change for him, and I try not to change him for me. I mean, there's sometimes I kind of poke him, and he reminds me, you're not my mom. Okay, you're right. So, but it's because of this program that I've learned how to do that. I can honor myself today. I'm not going to say every day I honor myself, because sometimes the shitty committee comes out and you're a piece of crap, you didn't do that right, you're going to make a mistake, you know, nobody likes you, I'm just going to go die in the desert. But for the most part, no. I honor myself, and I try to honor all my friends. I try to be a real friend. There's this one little passage in the big book, and I brought my big book because I always stumble over it because I haven't committed it to memory, and it's not that very long. But it's so important to me. And it says, cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have. The key to life and happiness for others. With it, you can avert death and misery for them. It doesn't say anything about us getting all that stuff. It says, by us being of service and by doing God's work, we could help somebody not commit suicide? Holy crap, man, that's a lot of responsibility. You know, by keeping my house open, women have come over who have been in domestic situations and stayed with us. I get to help and be part of that. Do I think that's going to be, useful to God? I don't know. I think he knows that I'm doing the best that I can. I have all these, quote, sins that I've done in my past, and I've always thought I have to make up for that. I can't make up for it, but I can change my behavior, and that's what amends are about. I don't just say, I'm sorry. When I met with my ex-husband to give him my amends, I was 8 years sober. I met him at the restaurant. I go in, and he has a big beer. And he says, do you want me to order you something? I said, no, thank you. And I tell him why I'm there. I'm here to make amends to you. I need to talk to you about my behavior and kind of clear the air and tell you how I'm going to change my behavior. And I said, I've been sober for 8 years. And he just looked at me and goes, in a row? I know, yeah, right? Can you believe it? And he goes, oh my God. And I tell him, I wasn't the best wife you could have had. I should have been there to support you. I should have backed you up. I should have acted like a good wife that I wanted to be, but I couldn't. I just didn't have that capacity to do that. And he said, he looked at me and goes, Dianna, there are a lot of things that I did that weren't all that great to you. And I said, so-and-so, I would love to hear this part. But you're not making the amends. I'm going to make the amends. And I have to get this all out. But if you ever want to meet and you want to make amends to me, I'd love to set that up, man. And he haven't heard from him since. So, and you know what? It doesn't bother you as much as I thought it would, because it cleared the air that my husband got to sit with him and his wife when our first granddaughter was born, with no ill feelings, with no uncomfortability, with just the fact that we were there for a joyful time to have this child who has never seen me drunk, who has never seen the things that I do when I get drunk. And, talk about a blessing, man. Because there were times where people would see me coming into a party and go and grab their husbands real quick and just make sure they were buffered between me and them. I don't act that way anymore. I don't ever place myself in those situations. I don't flirt with men. I flirt a little bit with men. But I don't make it my focus to get him. I try to be kind and loving and civil. If you're ever struggling and you want help doing a big book study, here's some of them right there. Come to my house. You're always invited. My house is open to you. And for that, I thank Alcoholics Anonymous. I thank my husband. And I thank my sweet Jesus, baby Jesus, God. So thank you for letting me share. I'm going to quit.
Yeah, Brady, would you please escort our speaker?